Because otherwise, then my colleague would lost all her cell samples.
Yeah.
So I go to them a couple blocks, and then she's just like, sure, can you go over there? And she's out of town. So I said, okay, but it's not a shower, so. Find someone to watch me.
Yeah.
But yeah. You used to play.
No, ma'am.
So.
No, ma'am. No.
You just have to respond.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got it.
I might have. I don't think I can. I would check with Andy or Nick. We're on top of everything.
All right, welcome everyone to the Kieft Summer Research Panel. We're joined today by two of our professors and several of our students. You've seen enough of me this weekend, heard enough of me talk, so I'm going to do a brief introduction, and I'm going to let the stars of the show take over, as any good show would do. So, all right. So first we have Dr. Audra Goetsch, received her PhD in chemistry from the Pennsylvania State University in 2004, before which she earned her BS in chemistry at Muhlenberg College in Allentown, Pennsylvania. She spent 2 years doing postdoctoral research in the biophysical chemistry at the University of Pennsylvania in the Institute of Medicine and Engineering. Since 2006, she's been a mentor of the faculty of Monmouth College, and she currently holds the position of professor and chair of the chemistry department. Audra teaches analytical chemistry, quantitative analysis and instrumental, capstone lab, and forensic science. She also has an active undergraduate research group which investigates the use of the model membrane systems for the investigation of drug delivery and drug effectiveness through... Yep. Thank you. All right. This building didn't exist when I was here, so I'm in the chem group with you guys.
Microscope BAM.
Microscope BAM. I like that. All right, that's a lot easier to do. So, she has published research papers with her undergraduates and her collaborator at Colorado State University while at Monmouth. And then we also are joined by Dr. Janet Ugolino, received her BS in biochemistry from Mercyhurst University in Erie, Pennsylvania. So was there a Pennsylvania connection there somehow? Or? The new Pennsylvania is here in Monmouth. All right.
There you go.
In biochemistry and molecular biology from the University of Maryland, Baltimore in 2011. After attaining her PhD, Dr. Ugolino completed a 5-year postdoctoral fellowship at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. Sorry, it's been a long weekend. She joined the biology department at Monmouth College as an assistant professor in 2020 and teaches introductory biology, cell biology, neurobiology, and behavioral neuroscience. She's also the coordinator of our neuroscience program and mentors students in the undergraduate research. Her research focus involves using the model organism C. elegans to understand the role genes play in the development of neurodegenerative diseases. And then we're joined by several students. I'm just going to let them tell you their names, and they'll introduce themselves a little bit later. So if you want to start down there.
I can, yeah.
Yeah, already.
Are you want me to introduce you, or do you want me to pass the mic to say your name?
Hi, I'm Ivy Hawkins.
Just your name. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Cassandra Nolasco.
Hi, I'm Lena Jersa.
Alejandro Artega.
I'm Riley Counans.
And I'm Hannah McGee.
And you'll learn more about them later. So again, we're here to talk to you about the Doc Kieft Summer Research Program.
And this program involves scholarship, travel, and summer research. And so what they learn this summer, they get to then travel to national conferences and present. Sorry about that. The chemistry, is it working now? The chemistry, no.
No.
Hello?
The chemistry department, it doesn't like me. What's your chemistry? Oh, probably is. Yeah, it's probably not like. Hello?
I don't think we need it.
Yeah, we can hear you.
If you can hear
Okay.
me.
If you can't hear me, then just tell me and I'll speak up. I have kids, so I'm used to yelling. Okay. I'm not talking about these kids. So the chemistry department at Monmouth, there are 4 faculty in the department. Teaching biochemistry and inorganic is Dr. Laura Moore. Laura is doing AP grading currently, so she's not with us, but she does have students here to represent her. I teach analytical chemistry, and so if you knew Doc Kieft, who was the analytical chemist, I came when he retired, and I got to know Doc for a couple of years before he passed away. He mentored me. I'm teaching organic chemistry of Dr. Michael Princell, who's also doing AP grading, and he has students, a student here to represent him. And Dr. Brad Sturgeon, who's our physical chemist, who is currently packing up to go to the Bahamas to do some studies with his underwater drones. So it's not that they didn't want to be here, they're just doing other things. And added to our department for the summer is Dr. Janet Ugolino in biology and neuroscience, and you got to hear a little bit about Janet in the intro. So Doc Kieft, if you aren't aware, was a faculty member in chemistry from 1975 to 2006. He was a trustee of the college, and he left an endowment to our department when he passed away in 2009 from pancreatic cancer. The initial allocations for all the different facets of the endowment are shown on the screen there. And these have been really important for us in terms of not only recruiting students, but also retention of students, right? Which is probably the most important thing, right? Can we keep them here, right? Are we keeping them engaged? We have a lot of smart students that come and they want to do things that are exciting, that are outside the realm of the classroom. So per year, what we have to spend is we have about $16,000 that we could spend on travel. So we take around 8 to 10 students to the National American Chemical Society meeting each year. Sometimes it's in San Diego, sometimes it's in Indiana, which is where it was last year. But wherever it is, we take them, and if it's close by, we take a larger amount of students, right? If we don't have to fly, then we can take more, because we do pay their flight, we pay their food, and we pay their hotel for the entire week, and also their conference registration fee. And all of the students present posters, and some are able to give talks in sessions that other grad students are giving talks at. For summer research, we have about $100,000 that we could spend. $75,000 goes towards salary for both faculty and students. We like to have 5 faculty and 10 students, but since Brad is in the Bahamas for some of the summer, he's not participating this summer, so we can use some of that salary that we don't spend next year, right? So we could sort of pad next year a little bit. About $23,000 towards consumables, and consumables are, the chemicals we use every day, right? Parts, perhaps, for instruments that we need to replace. And that may seem like a large amount of money, but Janet could probably tell you, when we buy chemicals, sometimes 100 milligrams of something can cost $150, right? And so that money goes fairly quickly. And then we have the scholarship piece. So we give a scholarship to incoming freshmen that they can keep all 4 years as long as they keep a certain GPA. And we interview those students on the day that we do all the other scholarships I think it's in February that we do that. And so we gave 6 $4,000 scholarships in 2022 and 4 $2,000 scholarships And in 2023, this year, I think we gave $4,000 scholarships for the students coming in the fall. And so you can imagine that this type of program is an amazing thing for the college. I think it's becoming something that is more of a necessity for the college in terms of what we need to do in order to be attractive to current students. And chemistry would love if we had other departments join us, in the summer doing this, but we need, we need finances for that. And so one of the programs that we are reaching out to recently in the last 2 years is neuroscience. And I'll let Janet talk to you a little bit about the neuroscience program. The endowment is very strict in who we can share our money with. And so when Doc wrote that, it was really good because it saves that money for our department, but we were able to share some of it with Janet and her students.
Thank you, Audra. Yeah, I'd be happy to tell everyone a little bit about the neuroscience program and how it has benefited tremendously from this summer research program. So it's a relatively new major, started in the fall of 2020, so we did graduate a student in spring of 2021, and since then we've had 6 more graduates. It's interdisciplinary, so that means students take classes from a variety of departments, mainly chemistry, biology, and psychology. When the major was designed, we wanted it to appeal to a wide variety of students with different interests. So we have 2 different tracks or concentrations. So molecular neuroscience for the students that are interested in what I call the small side of the brain, so like how actually a neuron works, what are the molecules doing inside those cells, and then behavioral neuroscience for the students that are interested in more of the social aspect of neuroscience. And like chemistry and biochemistry, all of our students need to do a research project in order to graduate, and in neuroscience they do that their senior year. I had the privilege of participating in Doc Kieft last summer. I worked with 2 students that are pictured up there, standing next to their poster, Bella Peets and Luis Castillo. And because of their summer research experience, they were able to present at a regional neuroscience conference in October. And they wouldn't have been able to do that without spending the summer collecting the data to be able to generate the poster to do so. And then Bella actually just graduated last month, and this research experience gave her the tools necessary to complete that senior capstone that I mentioned, as well as make her more marketable for the job market, and she was able to successfully land a job as a research assistant at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And when the scientist or the principal investigator called me for a reference, she was very impressed with the amount of research experience that our students have here at Monmouth. So that's a little bit about the neuroscience program.
And you can interrupt at any time and ask questions if you want, but we will, yes?
How much is annual tuition now?
Well, I don't know, I don't usually think about that. Do you know, Janet, offhand?
Well, maybe the students know. I'm asking because, $4,000 back when I was in college, that was a nice scholarship. I have a feeling,
More than they were.
Well, okay, so, and someone can look it up on their phone, right? Go ahead. But I do this in class all the time. I'm like, just look it up on your phone, right? But the sticker price is not what they pay. So there's a discount rate, right? And so it's really what you see is not really what they pay. So there's a discount rate, and then there's other scholarships too, right? And maybe that $4,000 is what they might use for books or for computers or things like that. But I don't know, you can ask them, because who has that money? I mean, I know Ivy has that money. So was it a lot to you, or what? How did it help you decide to come here?
It definitely helped me decide to come here. When I was applying to different schools, a lot of it kind of got to a point where, like, the money that I would keep having to pay kept getting lower and lower depending on the school I went to. Monmouth is actually the second cheapest. And what's the tuition again?
It's about 43,000.
Yeah, so it's not that though, right? I mean,
Yeah,
after
no.
the discount.
Yeah, when I
no one pays
paid
that much.
for like,
Yeah, the last time I saw it, the net tuition revenue was around $13,000 to $14,000.
Yeah.
The rest is made up of scholarships.
Right.
yeah, so it's more closer to the 14,000 typically for what students pay, but the $4,000 definitely helped me decide to come here.
I think at one point I looked and it's actually, you know, it's more expensive to go to like Western than it is to go here. It doesn't look that way online, right? But with the discount rate and the scholarships and,
I was a biology major, went into the bookstore and bought the freshman biology textbooks, $260. It's a little more than when we were here.
So now they could rent textbooks and they also, and if you have a chance today to tour around, we have a really beautiful research space where students have desks upstairs, and I was involved in sort of designing the space for chemistry because I was in HT, and we knew we wanted a space for students to hang out and to have desks and to study. And so I know that some of them share books, right, because they leave books in there, right, and they could use that space all day if they want because they have a key to it. You know, so it's, and they all have desks there now too, so there's ways around it. Our books on reserve, but they're expensive, right?
Well, I was just making an observation.
Yeah, they are, they're really expensive. So what year did you say?
Oh, I graduated in '71. My
71.
most expensive textbook was a physiology textbook. It cost $40.
Yeah, they can get it cheaper elsewhere.
Yeah.
They're all, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like that, I'm not supposed to say that out loud, but. They,
Cut that part out of the broadcast.
yeah, exactly. They can go to Amazon and get that.
I'm from the dark ages. No laptops, no cell phones, no internet.
I was on the cusp of that too. Yeah, no email until my senior year exam. But. All right, so Janet showed you her neuroscience graduates. These two pictures, one on your left are the 2022 chemistry biochemistry graduates, and on the right the 2023 graduates. And so we're doing really well in our department, and they are all going fabulous places, as you could see from your sheet that I gave you. I don't think you got one here. And so you can look at that and see where some of the students are at. And this is, Laura and I have been here 17 years, and Brad 1 year shy of that. And so this is sort of a compilation of what we know. And, you know, many grad schools, and we had a student this past year is going to be entering law school in the fall. And she was also a political science major. She did research with me, health profession schools, and also industrial companies. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And so we have a huge Excel spreadsheet with even more data, but this is just a snippet for you to get an idea. And this program, right, this research that is not only done this senior year, right, that is done, you know, we have a bunch of sophomores, rising sophomores here that are starting research this summer, that then they can continue that, right, throughout the rest of the time. So here's just the same thing that's on your sheet, right? I mean, graduate school, health professions, industry, right, they're the top sort of tiers of where we send students. We do have some that aren't currently working in the field, right, but that doesn't mean they're not doing valuable things, right, valuable careers, because we all know that the skills we learn at Monmouth, right, communicating, writing, the quantitative skills, they all make you, you know, attractive for many, many jobs. So here's some select alumni, and you could see professors, right? Professor at Simpson College. Lindsay was my first research student when I started here in 2006. We have chemists, right, AbbVie Labs up near Chicago. We have library science. So there's library science. We have doctors, professors again. You know, we had there's a really nice article on the website, thanks to, Dwayne and his team, about some students who recently got matched, right, from their medical schools, and, Yale University. I want to point out Mitch here. So Mitch graduated in 2012, and he co-founded a lab in Peoria. It's on Bradley's campus called Velocity Labs, and he came here a couple of years ago to tell us about it. And then he ended up interviewing our students, and then he was my research student, and one of my research students at the time then got a job with him when she graduated. And so these connections that we have, right, are also really useful. We have a bunch of students at Sigma Aldridge in St. Louis, and so we're doing really well. And we thank Doc, right? We thank Doc for this endowment and for his energy that he instilled in us when we were hired, because we all knew him. So the research areas this summer, my students are doing biophysical, bioanalytical chemistry research, Michael's organic, Laura biochem, and Janet is doing neuroscience. And now the fun part, because I've talked enough, is to hear from the students. And I asked them to say a few things, and I gave them a little bit of a template. I'm going to have that up there so you can read it while they say it. But please ask them questions, because we would, we want to tell you what you want to hear, and we want to make this a discussion type talk. But before we hear from you, okay, we're going to talk a little bit about alumni in the program. So I had a video for you, but the sound wasn't working correctly. But two of my recent students from 2021, Seth and Kyle, who are currently in PhD programs, they were able to publish 2 papers with me while they were here. And so that was a really great opportunity, and Seth talks in the video about how that gave him confidence, right, to go to grad school, and that it helped him, how he thinks it'll help him when he starts writing papers in grad school. And so I'll show you, because we could click here, and if this doesn't work, I already have the links open, but here's the one. Okay, so the one is pedagogical research. And so that's, teaching type research. And so you can see their names there, right? Seth and Kyle. And then Steve is our lab manager. I also had him involved in the publication. And ACS is an international journal. So that was really great for them. And as Janet said, right, when they're applying for jobs or applying for grad school, and they already have this under their belt, that makes them a lot more marketable for those positions. And then the other one was with my collaborator at Colorado State University. So this one was a little bit different. So Cameron, who's the first author there on the paper, Cameron was a grad student of my collaborator, Debbie Kranz, who's at Colorado State. And she wanted to do research similar to what we were doing. So she wanted to use the system that we use, which are called Langer modelers, and they had just gotten one of the instruments, but she didn't know how to analyze the data. So she reached out to me and my 2 students to help her analyze the data. My students wrote a program to help look at the images she was taking, and we had many, this was during my sabbatical, we had many Zoom meetings with them, because that was fall of 2020, which was not a fun time, and this was published in 2021. So you can see how long it takes, right, to get these published and to write them. We had many Zoom meetings, and they were able to see what it was like to work in a grad school type lab, right? What is it like to work with a grad school professor, Debbie Kranz? It's not always pretty, right? It's not always you're the best, right? I mean, it's real, right? It's, you made a mistake. How come you didn't look this up? Let's find this article. And I think it was a very valuable experience for them. And this is International Journal of Molecular Science. I think that's the acronym for that. Yes?
When does it cost money to have these published? You have to
Okay.
pay?
So for and I don't want to be very negative today. I will say it in a very positive spin. Okay. For my paper in the ACS journal, I needed to be a member of ACS in order to publish that paper. So we don't have professional development funds anymore, right? Because with downsizing of budgets and stuff. And I think it's about $300 to be a member, so I had to pay my dues to publish the paper, right? For other journals, and this one would have been paid by Debbie, but what happens with these is if you have, sometimes if you have colored images, you may get like 2 pages free, but then you have to pay for the other pages that are in color. And so that sometimes is more, but you have to be a member, right, of the society that's publishing them. So I'm not sure, this isn't, I'm thinking like Elsevier is another really common publisher, right? So you would have to pay dues to them. But we didn't have to for this one.
Yeah, and the high impact journals like Nature Cell Science, the ones that like the top researchers publish in, those are rather expensive too.
Yeah, a lot of scientists on Twitter are rebelling on the cost to publish and also the cost to then
Get back
like
those
earn the journal.
Yeah.
Like to have the physical journal. So when you publish, they used to send you the journal, right? So they would send you the journal that your article was in, and they don't do that anymore because everything's online. And through my collaboration with Debbie, I have access to Colorado State libraries, and so I could go on their Web of Science and I could get any article I want like this instead of ordering through interlibrary loan. And so are you recording? I gave them my password so they can do it too. But it's all for our research, right? It's for our research group, so yeah. So collaborations are really important in science, right? They're extremely important. Okay, so where am I? Kicked me out. So this, Kyle and Seth also built a microscope. So they built this microscope when they were here. And summer research allows you to do things like this because during the year, students work for like 3 hours a day. You know, maybe 3 hours a day, 2 times a week, right? And in the summer, they're here 8 hours a day. And so they can tinker and they can try things. And I'm trying to remember, I think this cost couple thousand to build, but if you were to buy a Bruce Strangle microscope, it would be like, you know, 40,000, right? We had a visit from a fluorescence microscope company yesterday. The company's called Kieft, and he came from Chicago, but it's a Japanese-based company because Janet and I really want a fluorescence microscope. And he said that the quote would be for $65,000, and he was waiving his fee to help us to train us and to set it up. He was waiving that fee for us. And we might be able to do it with our LeSueur fund. We're gonna see if we could combine funds, but we have to convince all the other faculty. So. All right, so I lied, I did talk more. But I'm gonna pass it over to the students. And so first we have Ivy and Cassandra, who are my 2 research students this summer.
Thank you. Alright. As Audrey said, I'm Ivy Hawkins, and I am also a research student. I am from New Baden, Illinois. It's a really small town towards St. Louis, so I'm like 4 hours from here. I am a sophomore, so I graduate 2026. My major is chemistry with a minor in investigative forensics, and the title of the research that I'm going to be doing is looking at the healing effects of northern bee propolis on burned skin cells with model membrane systems. Hi.
And what else are you interested? What else do you do on campus?
Oh, right, yeah.
I told them I'd help them if they forgot.
I didn't forget. So I am part of 2 different organizations currently. I am, of course, part of the ACS Club. Currently, I am their Scots Student Senate representative, and I am also vice president in, well, not acting vice president, but I will be vice president next semester of SAGA, which is Sexuality and Gender Alliance.
Thank you, Ivy. Okay, Cassandra.
Hi, my name is Cassandra. I have 2 majors. They're biochemistry and neuroscience. I'm from Chicago, and here on campus, I'm involved in Alpha Z Delta. I'm the director of diversity and inclusion and the Pan-Hellenic delegate. And next semester, I will be Alpha Lambda Delta's vice president. for my research, I will be working with Audra to use model membranes to investigate the relationship between sex hormones and cholesterol and their role in the progression of Alzheimer's disease. And with this research, I hope to not only gain more independence working in a lab, since I have to take a lot of labs, but also I am a pre-med major, so I want to be more prepared when applying for medical schools and be more competitive in that field.
Lena?
Hi, I'm Lena. I am from Homewood, Illinois. I am a senior chemistry major with a minor in educational studies. This summer I'm working alongside Dr. Laura Moore on a project that's investigating the microbiome and molecular composition of various sourdough starters. Outside of academics, I'm involved in the Monmouth Civic Orchestra here. And with my research this summer, I'm hoping to gain new experiences that I may not necessarily have the opportunity to in a general classroom setting, and just truly devote a lot of time to something that I love doing.
I am Alejandro Arteaga. I am from here, Monmouth, Illinois. During school, I commute. Right now I'm living here, and I am with Professor Michael Pincel. My research is about chalcones and their derivatives, and also their involvement with Alzheimer's disease. And in campus, I'm not very involved during school time, but outside, I usually work, and I am in the local soccer league. So I also expect to get a lot of experience making friends, and especially experience that I may need for whatever I am going to do after here.
I'm Riley Calmans. I'm from Lincoln, Nebraska. In the class of 2026, I'm a rising sophomore, and I am a biochemistry major with a physics minor. This summer I'm working with Dr. Yu. I'll be testing the gene expression of a certain gene that's related to Parkinson's by exposing them to different chemicals. Through this research, I hope to get experience and the practice that would be very useful and very good looking to grad schools. Hope to be going to grad school after this. And outside of chemistry, I'm in maybe 4 different music bands here in the college.
Hi, Hannah.
Hi, I'm Hannah McGee. I'm from Morris, Illinois, and I'm a rising sophomore. I'm a neuroscience and theater major, and this summer I'll be working with Dr. Yu as well within the neuroscience department, and I will be studying using C. elegans to model dopaminergic behaviors related to Parkinson's disease. My other interests on campus include being part of Kappa Kappa Gamma, and I'm really excited to be part of this project because the sciences don't give you as many ability to get involved outside of classrooms. So like my other major does, I got to be part of productions, but I'm excited to get to grow with this part of me, my major, and get to know the neuroscience of it.
So now it's your turn. So please feel free to ask them anything you'd like to ask them, or Janet, myself.
We really enjoy the Monmouth Civic Orchestra. May I ask what instrument you play?
I play violin.
Anybody else?
Where do you live for the summer?
So we're living over in Founders Village, which is where some of the fraternity houses and the Madden House are.
Did any of you consider going to larger universities, or did you, thinking that maybe there was more depth in your areas of interest, or did you really want to go to a smaller, more, personal experience and connection kind of school?
So when I was looking at colleges, I looked at 13 different
I chose Monmouth. Monmouth was one of them I toured. I went over to Ball State in Indiana. It's a really big school. I think it's like a D1. I think that means it's big. I'm not sure. And it was really big, and I liked their chemistry department, but I didn't like how big the campus was, because one of my main goals for going to college was that I wanted to try and do art classes and be in different clubs and really experience a more diverse section of college rather than just my major. Because, I mean, I love chemistry, but I can't just do chemistry. I like too many different things. I'm sorry. Hey, it's still my major,
No,
so.
I agree.
But, yeah, so I looked at somewhere really big, and then I tried here at Monmouth, and having somewhere that was smaller and where the tour guide was taking me around and was saying hi to a bunch of people, and they knew everyone, and then seeing the faculty and getting to meet them and realizing that I was able to have a really one-on-one experience with them. Because when I did the Doc Kieft interview, I still remember it. Like seeing the faculty joke with each other and them wanting to get to know me and them remembering my name for the rest of the day. It was nice to have that sort of connection with faculty, so then it doesn't seem like you're just a number, but you're a student, you're someone they know that they get along with, that they root for.
What about the rest of you? Curious.
When I was in high school, I had the really good opportunity to go to both a small school and a very large school. And from that I knew, like, off the bat I wanted to go to a very small college where there's more, like, one-on-one interactions between professors and students, kind of like we're doing this summer a lot. So that was a big part of why Monmouth was one of my top choices. That and like the strong chemistry, science department, and all the music programs. That was, I think, the size of the school was one of the biggest factors in choosing the school.
Riley, how did you're from Nebraska, right? So how did Monmouth, now I'm from Pennsylvania, so I'm also not from here, but how did Monmouth become on your radar?
So when I was searching for colleges, one of my parents like told me about it, like put on my radar, and then I was rounding down schools and Monmouth became like the top choice. And then after I got accepted here, I was told I was like a 5-time legacy. And I think that might have been why my parents told me, but they didn't tell me I was legacy until I was already in the school.
So talk about your day. You come in, I mean, it's been only 2 weeks since graduation essentially, and so into finals, now here you are. Are you Monday through Friday, nose to the grindstone, 40 hours a week, or hey, if you get this done by Thursday noon, you got the rest of the weekend off? I mean, how does this work?
Well, they just started this week. I think a couple started last week, but yeah, go ahead, tell them sort of what I do over there.
So usually we work 7.5 to 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday. I kind of split it up differently because I have to come both in the morning and at night, so I get to split my time in half. So I come in 9 o'clock, work until like 2, 3, and then I come back at night and do a few more things, and then just repeat it.
So, my two just started this week, and what have you been doing since you started? And Cassandra or Ivy, whoever wants to speak.
So every day we kind of come in and start like setting our desks up and reading papers, and then when Audra comes in, we meet in her office and we talk about what we're gonna do for the day. This being the first week, we've mostly just been reading. But we did get into the lab and start learning how to use the equipment. So I'm sure this next week is gonna be much more.
They've been very good readers of the literature. I have to say, I'm just so impressed.
I'm guessing it's nice because you're not sharing the lab with 25 other students throughout the day, so you can kind of put your things here and whatever needs to be put away for the night gets put away, but otherwise you could show up in the morning and nobody's sharing.
Yeah, we
anything.
have a separate space for research, compared to the teaching labs, and then my particular lab has a separate room because it's sensitive to, the environment. Because we look at nanomole quantities of, molecules, so, you know, a billionth of a mole, and any kind of environmental condition, if you smell it, it's gonna affect the data. And so we have our own other little space, so it is nice, but they are using the teaching labs to make solutions, and no one else is here, and they have keys to everything, and, but,
And
no,
passwords.
they've been bringing me articles that they found that, and saying, I think I want to do this. I mean, the whole thing with the sex hormones and the Alzheimer's and cholesterol, that was all Cassandra's, idea. I said, I did stuff with Alzheimer's and cholesterol in grad school, and she said, I'm really interested in that. And then she found this new project, right? And so they both have been doing tremendous, and the same with all of them. I can only speak to mine.
Yeah, no, Riley and Hannah have been very, very good readers and figuring out exactly like how, we call it experimental design in biology, well, in all sciences, and figuring out like their treatment, like what are they gonna treat, how long, conditions of their experiment, all their what controls they're supposed to be doing, so yeah, I've been very impressed.
And Lena's obviously working the night shift, you know, and Alejandro, I never see him without a flask in his hand. He's just a synthesizing machine.
So what fraternity? No.
Oh yeah, a round bottom flask. I'm sorry, yes. Well, we say flask in chemistry, you know what I'm talking about. A round bottom flask with this product, right?
Never give me a straight
Did you all have to apply for this program, like in all the departments, or was there an application process, and then how were everybody selected? I'm just curious.
Does someone want to explain the process? I'm trying to put your names up here when you speak. I'm getting every other, I'm failing.
So, the application process, I had kind of been talking to Andra about it since fall semester because I knew that they did summer research, and that was one of the things that brought me to Monmouth was their summer research. So I've been like, hey, I want to do this. When does this come out? And she was always like, wait until I send out the form. I'm like, okay. And so she sends out the form to the chemistry department, which includes biochemistry, of course, and also the neuroscience department. And it's just sent out to the department to apply. And then students that want to apply will send in their application, which includes like past research they've done, why they want to do the research, and who they would want to do research with, like in their order of top to bottom. And then that gets sent in. I know from your side you talked about having a faculty meeting, and then everyone discusses.
We meet and we discuss. You know, we talk about if the students are responsible, right? Summer research takes a lot of independence, and I think, you know, Cassandra had said she wants to gain more independence. She's been very independent so far, so, and so you look at all those things, but when you do these programs, when you write a letter of recommendation, and Janet had mentioned the letter of recommendations, everybody takes the same classes, everybody does pretty well in classes. But if you could talk to something besides classes, right? Who is this person, right? When they ask us questions like, what's the work ethic of the student, it's better if you have something else besides in the classroom to compare that to. I don't know if Janet can say that.
Yeah, no, that's 100% correct.
So is this all the students, or is there students, how many are in the?
There's two more.
I'm sorry, maybe you
Yeah,
covered
there's
it.
two more.
Okay, so there's more students in it. Got it.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
Elizabeth Schmidt she started a week early, and so she went home, I think, for some event, and Julia also is not present here today. So
thank you.
I work in an entirely different kind of field, but when I was at Monmouth, and was clearly one of the students at the top of the class, I wasn't thinking about any of this stuff. But it took a professor to tell me about a research opportunity to, in fact, get me to apply so that I ended up as history professor, dean, college vice president, et cetera, all those things. But so I'm wondering, some of you are real go-getters. How do you find, do you ever have to actually prod somebody that wasn't, that was in your program but is not thinking big enough, if you will?
Do you want to go or do you want me to
I'm
go?
like, that's basically what I did with Hannah. Told Hannah, I have this opportunity, you should apply for this, I want to work with you. And I don't think you had even thought about, you actually already had a summer job lined up by the time I talked to her, but she.
Yeah, and if you do get up to the 3rd floor and look around, there's posters all over the place of all the research we do, so it's kind of in their face that we do this, and we do it all year too. But there are, I can think of a student who graduated this past year who started not as one of the best chemistry majors and also involved in athletics and just, needed to figure out how to manage his time. And throughout the years, because of involvement in this summer program, then doing more research with Brad, he was working on the underwater drones, doing some stuff like that. This student then also became a lab TA for me, and so we did sort of push and say, I think that you will enjoy chemistry more and show your excellence if you do some of these outside of the class activities, because some people are really good with textbooks and doing that type of work, but they excel more in the lab setting, right? And so because we have these and we can push them in that direction, they do succeed more. And this student now is just interviewed last week for a teaching position at Monmouth Roosevelt High School. So I need to reach out and see how that went. But when I spoke to them, they said that they had an amazing conversation and absolutely loved it. And I think that's one of the other things that Monmouth does is help students with communication, right? Speaking about what they do and not being afraid to speak, because it's not easy to sit up here in front of people that they don't know, right?
I actually might have something to add to that. So of course I'm a chemistry major, so I do a lot in chemistry, but as I said, I like to do things in other fields. And actually last year, they have a thing for communications where the best student from each Comm 101 class will talk about their what was it called? Their persuasive speech, and do that in a competition of it in the college. And I actually was able to win that competition. And so being able to be here and learn more about how to talk in front of people and talk about my interests and things that I'm passionate about will help me in later fields. Even though I did something in Comm 101, I'm able to apply that to chemistry, to now being able to talk to all of you, and to later when I'm presenting my research.
I think you might have had your hand up longer, and then we'll go back, and then we'll go back, yeah.
It's a short question.
Okay.
Did any of you attend the Sophia program before your freshman year?
Raise your hand.
2, 3. Okay.
I just wanted to offer testimony. Way back in the dark ages of 1961 or 1962, I was a lab assistant, and I aced quantitative analysis. I was fantastic. And then I discovered organic chemistry, and I couldn't figure out the benzene ring. So I became an English major. but this is Monmouth College. This is the essence that every one of us have experienced, and that you wonderful people and terrific faculty are experiencing and giving today. And not only Don Kieft, but if the ghosts of Dr. Thiessen and Dr. Shawver could see what's happening here, they'd be weeping with joy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I was here last year and it was great, the students, and all. I just want to generate comment and kind of play off of some of this. I'm a career counselor. I still work full time. I help people that get laid off from work. I've been doing this for many, many years now. And in fact, 3 of the companies on the list here where students are working are customers of ours. That's the reality of life and business. And all of you have spoken very well. In much of the surveys that we do with companies that interview people of all ages, and just real quickly, I can't imagine how COVID has really stifled so much. And respectfully, how you all are different in your education and processing just from this thing that most of us didn't even have. But my point is, the biggest complaint companies have is they don't know how to talk. You all talk very well. And specifically, Alejandro, I want to say, ESL, you're doing really well. And I say that because I used to live in Hong Kong. I've spent time internationally, and I get a lot of clients looking for jobs where English is their second language. So I know how hard it can be, but this communication thing is going to be vitally important for you, regardless of what you do. And I think it's cool the work that you're doing related to Alzheimer's and the aging thing, because none of us want to have to experience that, and it's reassuring to see what's coming. Make it quick.
Janet, you need to thaw more worms.
I was just going to reinforce his comment about the aging work being done. I live in a retirement complex which has multiple levels of care in different areas. And we see a number of people who are in special memory care situations and things of that sort. And those kinds of efforts are absolutely needed, and my heart goes out to you. Goodwill.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to get any of you in trouble, but I'm interested in finding out what your favorite chemistry course was or is going to be.
Yes, some didn't take them all yet.
Yeah, they're pretty young.
Because if they took instrumental, they would all say that.
You can not answer that.
No, they can answer honestly. It's fine.
I mean, I'm not really sure. I am excited for instrumental, honestly, because I am excited to work with instruments.
We've only had a year.
Yeah, I've only had a year, so I've only done Gen Chem and Analytic.
What about your lab TA stuff?
Lab TA. Oh yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, yes. Lab TA. That's probably been my favorite, is being a lab TA, because I've been able to kind of figure out more of what I want to do after college. Because I'm not fully sure, but I know that I definitely want to go down the PhD track, and I'm thinking of either doing research full time or becoming a professor. And that's actually why I'm doing the research here now, is to figure out if I really love research, which so far I do. But yeah, I think my favorite would be the lab TA, because I was able to really connect with students and be able to teach my peers more about chemistry and help them with it. And that was just a great feeling to be able to share my love of chemistry with others.
Cassandra?
So I, in high school, was really bad at chemistry. I took it twice. Sophomore year, I took an honors chemistry course and I ended with a C. And then senior year, I took AP chemistry and I had a D. And so coming here was really terrifying. But then I got to general chemistry, and all of a sudden I know everything. And just, which goes to show that the teaching here is just like, this is the school for me. But after taking Gen Chem, I got the position of the supplemental instructor. So while I was taking analytical chemistry with Audra, I was also kind of retaking Gen Chem, so it was kind of like, it was helping me with my, it's gonna continue to help me if I hold this position. So I love general chemistry.
Lena?
I think there's a tie between my favorite chem classes. It's between analytical chem with Andra and inorganic chemistry.
So I have taken chemistry since I came to the United States every year, so it's like 8 years. And I quite like it since the beginning, right? And I'm trying to offend anybody, right? Analytical chemistry, right?
Did you say you didn't like it?
Yeah, no, not really.
That's a reflection on, I knew you liked me, that's the problem.
Yeah, it's great, it's my class, very nice and everything.
It's
you know,
tough.
but, and I think I prefer organic chemistry 1, not 2, but 1.
That's right, Alejandro. Because chemistry is so distinct, which is why we have 4 faculty, right? Really, we need an inorganic chemist, but they're very, specialized in what they do. And like from analytical chemistry, quantitative, and organic is not, right? So they're completely different. Yeah, Riley.
So I only just got out of my freshman year, so I've only taken analytical and inorganic.
Because you placed out of Gen Chem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed analytical a lot more because I think a big part is because it's mostly just math. I enjoyed that. Inorganic is a lot harder.
And then you became a lab TA for analytic.
Yeah, that was nice too.
And Hannah.
So last year was also just my freshman year, and I was only in 1 chemistry class since I'm a neuroscience major, which is more interdisciplinary. So one of the classes that was probably the most impactful for me though was a lab that I did. It was called the phage lab. And I did that in replacement of my Bio 150 class. So in this lab we got to, I got to learn about something I didn't know even existed, which are phages, which are bacteria that attack, or viruses that attack bacteria. Sorry. And, but it was really interesting, and that was my first exposure ever to doing research. So it definitely grew my love for research, and is why I'm here.
One more question?
I just wanted to recommend a book primarily to the students, but anyone here. It's called Lab Girl.
I read it, and I was on a panel to discuss it. Yeah,
Okay,
it's great.
It's a wonderful
amazing.
book. It was a National Book Critics Circle Award winner, national bestseller. It's a memoir about, it was probably about 6 years ago.
Yes.
Memoir of a woman who's a PhD scientist, about her working in a lab. Her father taught, he taught at a university. He was also in the sciences, whatever. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. Again, memoir, so it's nonfiction, but it's also about the people. She is a lab assistant who's got some emotional issues, whatever. It's just wonderful. So if you have any free time, Lab Girl, and her name is Hope Jaren, Jahren.
Yeah,
I'm glad you read it.
Our wonderful librarians on campus, they put together a panel with myself, Laura Moore, and who's my colleague, biochemist, and Marta Tucker, who's a retired computer scientist. And this had to be during the pandemic because we were on Zoom doing it. And then you attended it, right? I remember, yeah. Thank you. And I have a copy, so I could, I'm sure we have one in the library. Thank you, that's a good recommendation.
Awesome. Well, can we get a round of applause? Attending. We have the golf carts waiting outside to shuttle you on to lunch. And if you are walking, it is in between McMichael Dormitory and Stockdale Center, right on the terrace there. So,
if anybody needs a business